Hi guys! So if you clicked on this video, it means you are probably interested in getting some media coverage for your business, your brand, your personality, your cause that you're promoting, and I'm here to help. Why do we want earned media to begin with? First of all, it's the magic of public relations. It's third-party endorsement. It's one thing when a user, a consumer, a friend, a regular person shares their opinion. It's a completely different thing when an institutional power, intercessory public, like the New York Times, comes in and says, what a great product that is, what a great service that is. The credibility of an earned media message is 100 times better than the credibility of a user-generated content. Of course, that depends what kind of user-generated content, how much of it, etc., etc. But in general, right, a story in the New York Times or in Wall Street Journal is worth way more than 100 comments on Reddit. And another thing that business owners, entrepreneurs I know would love is that earned media is free. It's not only cheaper than advertising, it's also better. Why? Again, because of the same concept of third-party endorsement, we tend to perceive media as a port of authority. Therefore, anything that comes from the media is generally perceived as truth, as credible message. And advertising? Well, it's advertising. So if you're interested in what I'm about to say, consider hitting that subscribe button. Yep, this is YouTube. And also stay tuned because in a few moments I'll be showing you the 5 elements of a newsworthy story, something we need to have in our story, in our pitch, in our piece of news to attract the journalist's attention.
What do they want? Most media today is digital. The key performance indicators, the measures of success, are views and clicks. So, the journalist wants a story that would resonate with the majority of its readers. The journalist wants a story that people would click on. So keep that in mind. What else does the journalist want? The journalist wants to maintain his or her own creativity. Therefore, don't shuffle the story into their mouth. Instead, have a very vague story idea of how you would like your news to be depicted and make it a dialogue rather than a monologue. Third, the journalist, just like anyone, wants to be appreciated. So if you've done the research that I've pointed you to, you would have no trouble making a great conversation, telling the reporter how much you enjoyed, whether you enjoyed it, maybe you did not quite enjoy it and you slightly disagree with what they've written about before, and how much you're looking forward to reading their work in future. Things like that make a great introduction.
So basically, when you are trying to target the correct reporter, you want to see what they're writing about, what they've written about before, what they have been writing about over the past 3 years, and what their most recent top 3 articles are. You truly need to get into their work. It seems like it's a lot of time researching, but really once you get into the habit of it, it's a quick summary.
Things to look at. What is the journalist interested in? You can make that conclusion based on reading their most recent articles. I'm not saying reading from the beginning till the end, but at least scan the headlines and the first paragraph. Always, always, always make sure you know at least 3 latest articles this person has written prior to speaking to them or reaching out to them directly. Also, never send a generic pitch. If you wrote a fantastic email about your news story or about your organization and you want to get media coverage and you just fire it off copy paste the list that the database has put together for you. Don't do it. Nothing makes the reporters angrier. So, are you ready for this? Listen carefully. 5 elements of a newsworthy story. Number 1, timeliness. Immediate information is the most interesting because this is happening right now about and around us.
Timeliness is number 1 rule of newsworthiness. Why is something happening today? Why is it now that we are calling the reporter about it? Why should the reporter write about it today? Usually, you do not want to ask for media coverage about something that already happened before. If you had a fantastic charity marathon 2 weeks ago and you collected $5 million, well, guess what? You missed the opportunity if you didn't raise media attention before. Also, the media do not want to learn about something that's only about to happen way in advance.
Second point, proximity. Local information and events are newsworthy because they affect the people in our community or in our region. Generally, it's our nature to care more about things that relate to us and they're happening close to us. Conflict and controversy is another important element that any news story should have. It does not mean that you need to have conflict and controversy in your pitch, but be prepared that a reporter would like to show both sides. That is relevant when you're promoting a policy, a cause, a divisive opinion. Of course, it's not that important if you're promoting a product, but even then, the journalist might want to include your product into a roundup, best products for XYZ. Conflict in general attracts the reader's attention. That's the basic fundamental of any story, drama. Also, avoid pitching something that the reporter has recently written about. Generally, they don't like writing about the same thing twice or at least too soon. So if you are that fintech startup and you've identified a reporter who just published a fantastic roundup of 10 best fintech startups to watch in 2019, and you do not see the name of your company there, you pick up the phone, you find the editor, you call him up and you say, I'm sure, it's an omission, but we're so great and wonderful and we raised so much money at the latest TechCrunch battle and we're just fantastic. Why didn't you include us? How do you imagine this piece of coverage? Dear readers, last edition we covered the 20 best fintech startups in the world. Well, guess what? We omitted one, so we're fixing our mistake. So please welcome the fintech startup of all fintech startups. Doesn't happen that way. You missed that opportunity already. Place yourself in the reporter's radar and find a different angle.
So that's actually a pretty good example of finding the correct reporter. Obviously, if you are a startup in the fintech sector, then Leah Nonninger would be your best contact. Look at everything she's authored. She is your tier 1 A-list contact. I see that she's quite young. She's passionate about her work, but she's a typical millennial. If you apply this sneaky research practices and do your due diligence, you'll be able to find something to bond over with the reporter.
A cool case that I can talk about was my experience working with Adecco, a staffing firm and recruiting firm, and Adecco in 2014 was the official partner to the Olympic Games. And my goal was to raise awareness about them being a partner of the Olympic Games. This is not hard news. It's unlikely to attract the reporter's attention, just this fact alone. So we dug a little bit deeper and we looked at what is it exactly Adecco does. Turns out that the people who were recruited by Adecco to work at the Olympic Games had the most unique professions in the world. There was a person with a physics degree whose sole responsibility was to test the temperature of the snow at the ski slopes. Imagine that. The person does nothing else. I was looking for a human aspect to this story, and I found one. I know I did not talk about many things in this video, specifically pitching. How do you pitch? What do you say? How do you call? Do you call the reporter? Do you email them? How do you find their phone number? How do you find the phone number that works? What do you say after hello? All of these things are super important. I'm happy to cover them in the next video if that's something that you're interested in. So please use the comment section below and let me know if pitching is a topic that you are interested in learning more about. In the meantime, watch some of the other videos I have on my channel. This is Wits and Bustle Show. We talk about public relations, how other people do public relations, how not to do public relations. And by public relations, I mean communicating with everyone who matters to you. My name is Katya Komarova, and I see you next week.